Hey everybody, it's Chris with Drop Dice. So I'm back this week, special event type thing here, talking about what is Provenance. So Provenance, if you guys have been following on the website, is basically a science fiction hack that I've done for Fantasy Age, or at least that I am doing, I should say, for the Fantasy Age system by Green Ronin. It's a great little system. It reminds me of a lot of the elements that I like out of Dungeon World, but it has a little bit more crunch on there, which I know some people are a little bit more familiar with, thanks to other games like D&D and things like that have a little bit more fluff or more crunchiness to them rather than the fluff side. It's a little bit more story driven than some of those kind of games really equivalent themselves to, but I've been diving headfirst into this idea of doing a science fiction game. Now, a little bit of background in case you haven't seen the website. The idea for Providence is basically mankind cannot go back home. Essentially, something has happened that they're not even sure of because it's been so long since they've been to Earth. They just know that they can never come back. There's a couple rumors going around as far as what has happened that range from robots taking over the Earth, Terminator style. In fact, the story sounds a lot like Terminator. Another one that kind of sounds like Beastmen and robots and giant Gundams, and pretty much the stories that mankind has that they are handing down are actually old forms of movies and things like that. They don't know what happened to Earth, so they think that some of these movies might actually be based in truth. So like there are people that believe in the Gundam myth that maybe Earth was blown up by Gundams. There's another sect of people that may believe that, you know, Terminators, or maybe a series of children's TV show characters rose up in an imperialistic domination and took over the world, and they're on their last escape from Barney the dinosaur, or whatever the case may be. That's not super important. What is super important is the game is about exploration. It's about discovering who you are in a new place, not knowing anything about where you're going other than this dream that you have to find this ideal paradise of a world, and knowing that the only hope that you have lies in those around you. This idea that, you know, your team is your survival, and there are wonderful, beautiful things to be discovered inside the universe. And that was kind of the idea that I came up with thinking about Providence. Now, this idea had been floating around my head since a couple of years back. I did a game called Remnants, which was about like a world rebuilding from major apocalyptic event, and it's a mecha style game, really good game in case you are interested in it. But I had this idea. I was like, you know, what if we did like a sci-fi based game? And originally I was kind of thinking about Lug's Last Unicorn Games, Lug, Star Trek. And my problem is I have a lot of people that are friends of mine that are against Star Trek because they don't really care for all the lore and things like that go with Star Trek, but they were okay with a sci-fi game. And I was like, I don't really want Star Trek. I just want the system. I like the military hierarchy, but I want it to be more like this kind of arc ship idea, like maybe last chance at humanity. Like there are a couple arc ships that have been sent off in different directions at different planets that we thought were close enough to Earth that we were willing to give it a try. And each arc ship is full of a couple 100,000 souls, and that, you know, your job is to try and get your people to the best place that they possibly can. So I took a little bit from that game, which is where we get the Dyson Sphere Gobnat from. And then the arc ships are out there spread throughout the universe. And what my players are going to be, or at least if you choose to run this game, are going to be inside the Crescent sector, or Crescent Cloud sector is what I've called it. You may call your sector something else, doesn't really matter. So long as you convey the idea of, you know, manifest destiny, that you're going out, you're exploring, you're becoming more, that there's more out there for you. And, you know, some of your characters may have just forever been born, or born for generations on board ships. And the fact that, you know, you're getting to go and discover a planet, to walk on soil that isn't artificial or leftovers from another planet that you never been to, is an amazing concept for the character. And so I wanted to really emulate that. And I've got a couple people in mind that I'm going to probably pull from to do some beta testing. Everything that's on the website is effectively my alpha documents, and there are some things that I've discovered along the way that I'm going to change. One of which is I did the starships today, and I completely forgot to put in there their refueling. They've got 3 months worth of supplies for for consumables, but I didn't say how much fuel it takes, because I wanted to have kind of elements of hex crawl kind of feel. And then when we go Planetside, I wanted to have more of a exploration, not really a dungeon crawl per se, but like an explorative discovery thing. And I'm going to have some rules in there, and I'm going to rewrite the experience system so that it matches the flavor of game that I'm going for. I really love the backbone that Fantasy Age provides, and I like the way that it plays in game, but I didn't like that the XP system basically emulates Dungeons and Dragons, and the fact that I kill monsters to get loot, to get XP, to get better, to kill better monsters, to get loot, to get XP, and that vicious cycle. Instead, I want to have a game that's about exploration, discovery, conquering your fears, things like that. I really love games where characters come forward and they evolve and they become something more. So I'm going to play with that, and there'll be a post about that. But I've got basically the skeleton together. If you want to go ahead and start playing testing it, putting it together in some of your own games, trying it on your own. If you want to do an entirely Starship combat, badass, like lasers flying kind of game, there are rules for it. That's not the kind of game that I'm going for. But if you want to give it a shot and see how it plays out, and let me know how Starship combat goes in a like pure hard sci-fi Starship combat kind of scenario, then that'd be awesome. I'm glad to hear from it. Any sort of comments that you have about the game, feel free to throw them up inside the website, dropdice.com. It's actually going to be linked inside the descriptions here, and I'm also going to have a card available. So for anybody who's new to cards, there'll be an eye up in one of those corners. You'll just click on it, it'll open up, and there'll be a link to the website inside there. It'll open up in a new window, and you won't have to worry about this one closing out. Now, the other thing that comes with Provenance is what's going to happen to my channel. I'm still going to be running L5R until we get to a positive endpoint, and I feel like the campaign's closed out because it's gained some popularity, and I know my players are really excited to keep playing, so I don't have any intent to close it out until we come to a natural conclusion of story. But it may mean that I may bring on another game. Unfortunately, that means I may have to kind of cut back on any sort of one-shots that I do. Now, there are lots of one-shots that I do that aren't on my channel. They are instead things that I do with other people's channels. So occasionally I do link them on here, but you guys don't see my one-shots too often because a lot of them are off-air. But what that's going to be on the flip side is it's going to give a really solid example of Fantasy Age in action. And I'm really hoping to provide, once again, a non-European Adventures game for my viewers, because I think that's what you guys kind of come to me for, is kind of a view that is not traditional, super hyper focused on fantasy adventure in European-like settings. And if that's the case, awesome, because that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy. If you are down and interested to try anything for Provenance, again, check out the website and let me know what you guys think. There's fillable character sheets, moves for starships. The starship stunt chart is on there. It's pretty functional as is right now. I'm gonna probably work out the experience post pretty soon here. I won't make any promises because unfortunately I work on Provenance as I get time available to me. And I'm hoping to try and get it done before I start my new job on Monday. That way I can get some stuff out there for people. And once I figure out what my new schedule is going to be like, I may be fitting in a Provenance game every so often, if not a one-shot, but a full-blown campaign. And just as kind of a fun preview, if we do get a chance to do Provenance, I have worked out some fun stuff like custom overlays. I know that that's one thing that a lot of people like, is seeing those fancy overlays on campaigns. So here's a little preview of the Provenance one right here. So like, if you do decide to do Fantasy Age, this is the stuff that I think is really, really interesting to have on screen for you as GM across Google Hangouts. Your speed, defense, and armor. And then you have your character's name and class, your player's name, of course. And then I have a character image on here. And then because it's about exploration and things like that, if you guys notice right over there, I have short goals and long goals listed. Those are what, to me, is most important. Now, you may find that having health on here is more important or something like that. You could emulate this kind of layout style or something like that, but it's up to you for whatever's important in your game. In my game, goals are going to be really important because I really want to focus in on that player story. For me, that's what I enjoy a lot of. In fact, I usually don't like big heroic games, because big heroic icons tend to feel not very realistic when you kind of break them down. So I like levels of games where the players are very human and have a very human quality and eventually can become something more, which is part of the reason I like Legend of the Five Rings, because you start off at such a human level. But if you guys are interested in seeing something like that, something like what I do for Legend of the Five Rings, I think I'm going to go a little bit more RP heavy when I go with Providence, as kind of me stretching my legs and trying to assimilate a little bit newer of a style that I've been picking up from some of the other guys on the communities here on Facebook and YouTube, or in Google as well. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And let me know what you guys think. As always, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And again, check out the website. I put a lot of work into it, and I think I did a pretty good job, if I don't say so myself. But you guys let me know what you guys think. All right, as always, guys, I'll see you at the gaming table, and thank you for tuning in.